What's up, guys? Nutsack here. Today we're back with a new video, uploading 2 days back to back. And today I thought of a fun video. It took me a lot of work making it, but today I thought of like a fun video topic. We're gonna be looking at the top 5 UFC fighters in every division all time based on only resume. So I don't care how many title defenses you have. I don't care how many title wins. We're not even gonna be looking at losses either. The only thing we're gonna be looking at is just resume. So who have you beaten? Now these aren't my lists for every top 5 in every division, like who's the best. For example, I'm not gonna have Demetrius Johnson #1 for flyweight, but obviously we all know that Demetrius Johnson is by far the best flyweight of all time, but he doesn't have the best flyweight resume of all time in my opinion. Yeah, stuff like that. But I just want to let you guys know, like, this is not me saying that they're better. I just think they have a better resume. So let's get into it. Like I said already, I have DJ at #3 for flyweight. I have Figueiredo #1 and Pantoja #2. Figueiredo has a win over Pantoja, which is a really good win because look at Pantoja's resume. And then he also has a win over Moreno. Moreno's resume right here. Joey B twice, Perez, Tim Elliott, John Moraga, Rob Font, Cheeto Vera, and Cody Garbrandt win, which is okay. Then we got Pantoja. We got Moreno 3 times, which is really good. I feel like people kind of overlook that, like the fact that he beat Moreno like 3 times. That's almost as good as Volk beating Max 3 times. Well, you guys know I give Volk a lot of credit for beating Max 3 times. Obviously, Moreno isn't as good as Max, but like it's just showing levels basically. And I hate Pantoja because Moreno's one of my favorite fighters, but you know, you can't lie that Pantoja is honestly just a better fighter than, you know, Moreno, because he has those 3 wins over him, which is super impressive. He has 2 wins over Royval. Royval also beat Moreno recently. Win over Steve Erceg. Erceg proved that he was elite in that fight. Had a closer fight than Moreno and Brandon Royval. So Erceg is elite, but I do think Pantoja still beat him. Alex Perez, pretty good. Manel Kopp and Matt Schnell. These guys are decent. Manel Kopp is kind of overrated in my opinion. Looking at Mighty Mass's resume, we do have Cejudo. He does have a loss to Cejudo. Joey B twice, which is really good, but Figueiredo also has 2 wins over Joey B. 2 wins over John Dodson. Adriano Moraes in 1 championship, Tim Elliott, and then Kyoji Horiguchi, who I'm pretty sure is actually doing pretty well in what's it called, Risen. I believe that's where he's fighting at. So his resume is okay. Obviously, DJ is the best flyweight of all time, but I wouldn't say he has the best flyweight resume, if you guys know what I'm trying to say. So don't hate on me in the comments. I got Moreno over Cejudo. Besides TJ and Cruz, and I feel like people really overrate Cejudo's wins over TJ and Cruz because Cruz was coming off like a week's notice, off like a 4-year layoff. The last time he fought before that this was in 2020, by the way. The last time he fought before that was in 2016 against Cody Garbrandt, where he lost and he got dropped like twice. And Cruz wasn't training in that time, and he took the fight because Jose Aldo pulled out. I think Jose Aldo would have beaten Henry Cejudo, but he took that fight. Cejudo KO'd him in like the 3rd round, which is kind of crazy. Like Dominic Cruz, who wasn't training, made it to the 3rd round with the prime Henry Cejudo. So I really think Cejudo's pretty overrated. And then TJ is just an idiot because he tried cutting all the way down to 125. When in reality, if he wanted to become a double champ, he should have tried moving up to featherweight. But I get it. Obviously, you'd rather want to fight Henry Cejudo than Max Holloway, who was, I believe, champion at the time. But yeah, it is what it is. But I think these guys are both overrated wins. I don't really count them like that. But besides that, he does have a win over DJ, which is super impressive. That's what puts him on the list, actually. Now, the DJ win is good, don't get me wrong, because DJ is the best flyweight of all time for sure. But it was a super close fight, and some people argue that DJ actually won that. I don't think he did, but some people could argue that. Marlon Moraes, Jasir Formiga, and Sergio Pettis, who is Anthony Pettis' brother, I believe. I actually have Moreno over him because he has 2 wins over Figgy, who I have #1 on this list. He won the trilogy against Figgy, which is super impressive. And it's funny how MMA math works because Figgy beat Pantoja, Moreno beat Figgy, and then Pantoja beats Moreno. Yeah, it's just funny how it works, but yeah. Then we got Royval. He does have a win over Royval back in the day. 2 wins over Kai Kara France, and I actually think Kai Kara France is pretty underrated. First win was decision, I believe, and then the second win, I remember it was for the interim title, and he hit him with the perfect liver kick, dropped him, and that was it. And then he also has a win over Jasir Formiga, just like Cejudo. But yeah, so this is my flyweight list. Remember, this is only based off of a resume, purely resume, but this is my flyweight list. Moving on to bantamweight. You guys already know who I was going to have at number 1 for bantamweight. You guys know I love Peter Yan. We got Jose Aldo, super good win. A lot of people like to say shit that like Jose Aldo wasn't good. After Peter Yan beat Jose Aldo, and he was the first person to finish Aldo besides Max, I believe. Volk didn't even finish him. Peter Yan was able to take down Aldo actually and finish him with ground and pound, which is super impressive. And then after Yan beat Aldo then went on a 3-fight win streak. Beat Corey Sandhagen. Some people think that fight was competitive, but it really wasn't. Yan just beat his ass. Aljo. By the way, guys, this is the first win over Aljo, the DQ. I count this as a win for Peter Yan because Peter Yan was winning that fight, and I feel like we all would have known what happens in the 5th, so I count that. But I do think Aljo won the second fight. I don't think that one was a robbery, so that's why I have a win for Yan for Aljo. Song Yadong. I think Song Yadong's actually super underrated. He's a beast. Uriah Faber, John Dodson. You guys know what I love to say. John Dodson is like Demetrius Johnson's 3rd best win ever, and people freak out about Demetrius Johnson, but then over here it's like Peter Yan's 6th best win, and in my opinion O'Malley, but it's just my opinion. You don't have to think so. A lot of people think O'Malley won that fight. I feel like more people think that Peter Yan won that fight. I'm one of those people. I think he won the 2nd and 3rd, but you could also argue that O'Malley won the 3rd as well. I don't think he did, but it is what it is. But that's why I have Peter Yan up here. By the way, O'Malley, I would have had O'Malley on this list, but I wouldn't put him up here. If he beats Merab, I'll definitely put him up here for sure, without a doubt, 100%. But moving on, we got Aljo. We got Yan, which is a really good win, legit win over Yan. I don't count the DQ one, but the second one, he beat Yan over decision. He beat Corey, subbed him in 1 round, super impressive. I think that was like the last finish he's ever had though. Beat Cejudo, and Cejudo showed that he's still pretty good. Cejudo took a round off Merab as well. Munoz, Cater, Jimmy Rivera, and TJ. I put TJ last because TJ only had like 1 arm, so it wasn't the best win, but it's still notable, so I'll put it there. Merab, 50-45 Dion, one of the most impressive wins in bantamweight history. Jose Aldo, who was still super good, was actually on the verge of a title shot, and then he lost to Merab, then he retired, but recently he came back and beat Jonathan Martinez, so Jose Aldo still got it. Still a good win. Then we got Henry Cejudo, who just had a super close fight with Aljo, and then Merab went out there and easily beat him. Well, I believe Henry won the first round by clipping him, and then Merab won the second and third though easily, 100%. Marlon Moraes finished him, but I think it was during the losing streak where everyone was finishing Marlon Moraes, and then John Dodson, who was like a good win for Demetrius Johnson as well. I actually argue you could have Dominic Cruz over Merab. It's up to you. I have Merab over Dominic Cruz because he has a win over Yan, but Dominic Cruz has a win over DJ, a young DJ, but it's still Demetrius Johnson, which is super impressive. TJ, Uriah Faber twice, Joey B twice, and Pedro Munoz. So I'd say it's more quality over quantity here, but still super good wins. And then I put Corey Sandhagen over TJ. I think TJ's resume, I believe he has a win over Barao and 2 wins over Cody Garbrandt, and those are like his best wins, but like I don't really think that's all that in my opinion. Respect to TJ, but I also think that Corey beat TJ in my opinion, and a lot of people agree with that as well, so a lot of people agree that was a robbery. But he beat Song. Song's a beast, like I said. Beat Cheeto, destroyed Cheeto. Beat Rob Font. A little bit of underwhelming performance, but he also knocked out Marlon Moraes. Flying knee Frankie Edgar, Sun Sao. Mario Bautista was a win that aged well. I believe he's ranked now. And then, of course, I think he beat TJ in my opinion. But yeah, so this is my bantamweight list. Moving on to my featherweight list. This is actually my exact featherweight ranking list. So I got Volk 1, Max 2, Aldo 3, Connor 4, and Ilya 5. Obviously, I think Volk has one of the greatest resumes of all time. Max 3 times, which is just insane. Aldo, which is also an insane win. Brian Ortega, Yair, Chad Mendes, TKZ, and Darren Elkins. And he didn't really have close fights with any of these guys, which is crazy, besides Max in the second fight. But then he had the first win over Max and the third win over Max, which obviously weren't really that close at all. Oh, the first one was competitive, but the third one wasn't really. But then we go to Max, and this is the reason that Volk's resume is so good, because he beat Max 3 times. And look at Max's resume: Aldo twice, Gaethje, Ortega, Allen, Yair, Frankie Edgar, Anthony Pettis, Ricardo Lamas, Calvin Kattar, Charles Oliveira when he was still young, so it's not that great of a win, and he did get injured in that fight, but it's still a notable win. And TKZ, like I said, but super old, like on the verge of retirement, but still a notable win. Then we go to Aldo. Frankie Edgar. I think Aldo actually has a pretty underrated resume. Frankie Edgar twice, Chad Mendes, Uriah Faber, TKZ. Back when TKZ was like pretty good. Moicano, Ricardo Lamas, Rob Font, Chito Vera, Pedro Munoz, and recently he just came back and beat Jonathan Martinez. I realized I didn't put Marlon Moraes on here, but I also think that Aldo beat Marlon Moraes. I think that was a robbery. I mean, yeah, I think that was a robbery in my opinion, but is what it is. Connor, Aldo, Mendes, Poirier, Max. I don't really look too deep into the Poirier and Max wins because they were both pretty young, and especially Max. Max was like 20. Eddie Alvarez, though, Nate Diaz, Cowboy Cerrone, those are pretty good wins. And he was the first person, he beat the best version of Aldo that anyone's ever beaten, which is super impressive. And I put that over Ilya because I think Max's other wins, I think Connor's other wins surpass Ilya's other wins. And I think that the Aldo that Connor beat was better than the Volk that Ilya beat, and Connor beat Aldo faster. So I put, and he also has a win over Chad Mendes. So I put Connor over Ilya for now. But if Ilya beats Max, then we got to talk about him being maybe top 3. But yeah, moving on to the next one, we got lightweight. Coming in number 1, we got Islam Makhachev. 2 wins over Volkanovski. Super impressive. The first one was one of the best wins of all time. Super legit win. 48-47 or 49-46 even for Makhachev. Some people think it was a robbery for Volk, but I don't think so at all. Second win over Volk, he was on short notice, but I mean, I don't know why people discredit Islam for that, because you fight a short notice guy, but Islam did what he's supposed to do, knock him out in the first round. And who has knocked out Volk? So I still think it's an impressive win. Destroyed Charles Oliveira, literally neutralized him completely, and also beat Poirier. I know Islam had staff, but I do think that Dustin Poirier fight was actually closer than a lot of people thought it was. I actually had it going into the 5th. I actually had it 2 for Islam, 2 for Dustin. Luckily, Islam pulled off that submission, and Islam proved that he was a dog. Then we got Bobby Green, Dan Hooker, Drew Dober, and a young Arman Tsarukyan. So that's a pretty good resume. Then we got Dustin. 2 wins over Max, 1 win over Prime Max actually, even though it was on short notice for Max, still a good win. And a win over young Max, which I don't really look into, but I still give credit for it. Justin Gaethje, Conor McGregor twice, Michael Chandler, Dan Hooker, Eddie Alvarez, Pettis, Green, and Benoit Saint-Denis. So this is a super good resume. Now here's another example of me literally just crediting wins, like only wins. Habib and Charles are definitely better than Dustin all time. But like I said, I'm not factoring losses. We know Dustin has Dustin has quite a bit of losses. Habib has no losses. But I think that the people that Dustin has beaten are better than the people that Habib has beaten. Habib at number 3 for beating Dustin, Gaethje, Conor. Dustin also beat Gaethje. Dustin beat Conor twice, and he also beat Conor McGregor. What am I saying? He also beat Max Holloway, and I think he has a better pure resume than Habib, but obviously Habib's going to be better all time. He beat Dustin, Gaethje, McGregor, RDA. That was a good win because that was before RDA became a champion. Edson Barboza, Michael Johnson, Ali Quinta, all those guys are like decent, not too bad, but I'd put them on the same level as like Islam's wins over Bobby Green, Dan Hooker, and Drew Dober. So that's pretty good. Coming number 4, we got Charles, Dustin, Gaethje, Chandler, Tony. This was Tony's second loss, so it wasn't like completely washed Tony yet. Benil Dariush and Kevin Lee, and we all know Charles is elite. And then after that, I got Justin Gaethje, who has a win over Poirier, Tony, first person to beat Tony, Rafael Fiziev, Michael Chandler, Edson Barboza, Cowboy Cerrone, and James Vick. So yeah, so this is my lightweight list. Moving on to welterweight. Number 1, I got Kamaru Usman, 2 wins over Colby, 2 wins over Masvidal, Gilbert, RDA, Maya, Leon, and Strickland, which are 2 wins that aged well. Now, a lot of people are going to think, oh, when it comes to resume, Kamaru Usman washed his GSP out of the water. GSP only beat bums. I actually think GSP has a super underrated resume, and I think that they're actually closer than a lot of people think. I'm going to have Usman over GSP, but I wouldn't be mad if he had GSP over Usman in terms of pure resume. That's how good GSP's resume is. 2 wins over Matt Hughes, 2 wins over BJ Penn, Michael Bisping, Jake Shields, who was on a super good win streak, Josh Koscheck, who was actually underrated, Carlos Condit, who we know is a killer, Nick Diaz, coming off of that long Strike Force win streak, John Fitch, Sean Shirk, and Frank Trigg. So yeah, pretty good wins. Honestly, you could put him over Usman, I wouldn't be mad. And we obviously know that GSP is way better than Usman all time when you factor in all the accolades and stuff. Coming in at number 3, we got Leon. I didn't know who to put over Leon or Bilal. I put Leon over Bilal just because Leon has 2 wins over Usman, a knockout win over Prime Usman, and then beat Usman again, which is super impressive. A win over Colby, an older Colby, but it's still a good Colby. Win over RDA, Cowboy, and Nate Diaz. So not a great resume, but the Usman wins kind of just carry him a little bit. I wouldn't be mad if you put Bilal over him because Bilal has wins over Leon, Gilbert Burns, Sean Brady, Wonderboy, Luque, Maya, and also a win over Randy Brown, which I didn't know about. But Randy Brown's actually doing pretty good right now, so that's a win that aged well. And coming in number 5, we got Woodley. At first, I was thinking about putting Wonderboy here, but I decided, Woodley has a better resume than Wonderboy in my opinion. Wins over Lawler, Wonderboy, Maya, Till, Gastelum, Condit, and Koscheck. So yeah, moving on to middleweight. I think Anderson Silva's better than both these guys all time, but both these guys have better resumes. Same, I think Chris Weidman's better than Yoel, but Yoel has a better resume. You guys get it by now. Shit, my bad. So we got Izzy out number 1. I actually think Izzy and Whitaker's resumes are close. The thing that puts Izzy over Whitaker's resume though is the fact that he has a win over Pereira. I think Whitaker's actually beaten the people that Izzy has beaten as well, better than Izzy has beaten them. But the fact that Izzy knocked out Whitaker, had a super close fight with him the second time. Whitaker arguably won that fight, but I feel like Izzy got the better of the two because he had the finish win and he also got the division win, even though it was close. So you could argue they're 1-1, but you can also argue that Izzy's 2-0. But then he has that win over Alex, so that definitely puts him over Rob when you factor in the resume. Because nobody has beaten Alex in the UFC besides Izzy. 2 wins over Rob. You could argue the second one was robbery, like I said. I don't think it was, so I'm not going to count it. But you could argue that it was, and I wouldn't be mad at that. Jared Cannonier, Vettori twice. People forget about the first win. Paulo Costa, super dominant win. Anderson Silva, Kevin Gastelum, and Derek Brunson. Pretty good. Going on to Rob. Yoel twice. Super close fight the second time, but Yoel missed weight, so I'll give Rob the benefit of the doubt. Darren Till, also a competitive fight. Jared Cannonier, Kelvin Gastelum, Vettori, Costa, destroyed all those guys. Jacare Souza destroyed him too, and Brunson and Aliskerov he knocked out in the first round. So super impressive resume from Rob Whitaker. You guys know I don't like Anderson Silva's resume. You guys know how much shit I talk about it, but it's actually like decent, I guess. You got Forrest Griffin, Chael Sonnen, Dan Henderson, Vitor Belfort, Damian Maia, Rich Franklin, twice I believe. I only put once, but I think he beat him twice actually. And then we got Derek Brunson, who we beat as an old head. Coming up next, we got Yoel, who beat Weidman, Rockhold, Jacare Souza, Lyoto, Brad Tavares, and Derek Brunson. I believe he beat Tim Kennedy as well. I should have put that on there, but he also beat him. And then we got Chris Weidman, who beat Anderson Silva twice, and was the first person to beat Anderson Silva. I know he got injured the second time, Anderson Silva, but he beat him the first time legitly, because Anderson Silva was acting like a dumbass, so he paid for that. Also has a win over Machida, Vitor, Damian Maia, and Kelvin Gastelum. So this is my middleweight list. Moving on to light heavyweight. Hate putting John Jones at the top of any list, but John Jones has one of the best resumes of all time. Daniel Cormier, Gustafsson. Didn't count the second one for both of those guys because he was on steroids both of those fights. But he does have 2 legit wins over them anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Glover, Vitor, Machida, Rampage, Evans, Shogun, Chael, and Gon. Aspinall beats him, but we're not going to talk about that. Then we got number 2, we got DC. I actually think him and Alex are quite close when it comes to resume, closer than people think. But DC has an all-time win in Stipe. I mean, I guess Alex has an all-time win in Izzy as well, but I have DC over him for now. If Alex beats Ankalaev, I might put him over DC, but we're not sure yet. We got Stipe, Gustafsson, Rumble twice, Dan Henderson, Volkan Ozdemir, who's doing good right now, so that win aged well. Derek Lewis and Anderson Silva, who came in on like a day's notice, but still Anderson Silva, so we're still going to count him as a notable win. Not a great win, but a notable win. We got Alex Pereira, beat 5 UFC champions. We got Izzy, Yuri twice, Jamal Hill, Jan, and Strickland. All these guys were champions. He beat Yuri twice, has a legit win over Izzy in the UFC, so super good resume. Coming number 4 for pure resume, we got Jan. Normally I'd have Chuck and Tito Ortiz over him, but this is just resume. Jan has a win over Izzy, which is super impressive, and it's a win over young prime Izzy, and that's really, really impressive. Dominic Reyes, right after his win against John Jones, right after Dominic Reyes beat John Jones, Jan fought him, and Jan destroyed him, which is super impressive. Alexander Rakic, who's elite, Jacare Souza, Luke Rockhold, Nikita Krylov, and Jared Cannonier, and all these guys are pretty good, so I actually think his resume is a little underrated. The only reason he's not higher in like the all-time list is because he's a little bit inconsistent. Then we got Chuck Liddell, who's pretty good for like an old head. We got Tito Ortiz twice, Randy Couture twice, Vitor Belfort, Alistair Overeem, and Wanderlei Silva. Yeah, so this is my light heavyweight list. And finally coming up last, we got heavyweight. We got Stipe at 1. Pretty self-explanatory. DC twice, Ngannou, JDS, Overeem, Verdum, Arlovsky, and Mark Hunt. Then I got Francis at 2 actually. I think Francis' resume is underrated. If you watched my my most underrated resume videos, I had Ngannou there. I think he's the second best heavyweight of all time. Stipe, Gon, Blades twice, JDS, Rosenstrike, Kane, Overeem, and Arlovsky. Then we got Verdum. Verdum actually, hold on, sorry guys. Verdum actually has a win over Fedor, and it's not like a bad Fedor. It's actually a pretty good Fedor. I think he was in his early 30s, so this was when Fedor was still doing good. Not doing good, but Fedor was still good during this time. And Verdum beat him. He subbed him. Only person ever subbed Fedor, I think, which is super, super impressive. Probably the best jiu-jitsu heavyweight of all time. So win over Fedor, super impressive. Also win over Kane, Mark Hunt, Big Nago Nogueira, Overeem, Marcin Tybura, Harris, and Gustafsson. And the win over Gustafsson surprised me, actually. I didn't know he had that. So that's another good one. Coming in number 4, a little bit of a hot take. I think we got Aspinall. A lot of people like to say that shit like Aspinall's never beaten anyone that good. Aspinall's beating Curtis Blades, who is like a staple in the top 5 and has been for a long time. And he's beaten a lot of like these old heads, Curtis Blades. Sergey Pavlovich would beat a lot of these old heads as well. And Volkov, I think Volkov, if you take Volkov and put him like back then, the Volkov of now, and you put him a little bit back then, maybe to like in the 2007 era, I think Volkov would be a dominant champion 100%. Volkov is really, really elite, and I think he's super underrated. And Tom Aspinall ran through him. And the thing that makes Tom Aspinall's resume so special is the fact that all these guys were ran through easily. None of them even gave him a competitive fight. All ran through in the first round. Besides Arlovsky, I believe that fight went into the second. But first round, Tom Aspinall won the first round, and then the second round takes him down and subs him in like 2 seconds. So it doesn't really matter. Yeah, knocked out all these guys in the first round, and all these guys are pretty good. So that's a really good resume. Then at number 5, we got Kane. You could add JDS here as well, but I just put Kane because he has 2 wins over JDS, 2 wins over Antonio Silva. And Antonio Silva also beat Fedor, I believe, early 30s Fedor, so not washed Fedor completely yet. Big Nog, and then Brock Lesnar. So, yeah. But that is going to be my list, guys, for the top 5 UFC fighters in every division all time based on resume only. This video took me a long time to make, so let me know if you guys liked it. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.